Hello, hello,
Hey.
welcome back to Dadpuzzles, folks. So today, we are very lucky to have a good friend of mine. He's dedicated um, to so much. How many, his history is just amazing, and I would like for us to really pay attention and learn from him. And his main goal is really, you know, to have this access to healthcare to most of us, and this is something very noble. So, Andrew, thanks so much for doing this, my friend.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate you. Appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I appreciate you. Yeah, because I know when we met, you say, you know what, I support what you're doing, and I was like, oh man, this is amazing. So I'm happy to have you on, sir.
Yeah, I'm grateful. Thank you.
Yes. So can you tell a little bit about yourself, boss?
Yeah, I was born in New York City, and into my dad's story and my work story, everything about my life's kind of intertwined. My
Mhm.
mom, a wonderful woman, wanted to be a stay-at-home mom and raise a bunch of kids. That wasn't really how it turned out. My father really struggled with alcohol and drug addiction. And when I was 3 years old, my mom got divorced from him and was like, I need to get my Andrew, me, in a better situation. We moved in with my grandparents. And that situation didn't get a lot better, at least with my dad. And when I was seven, he committed suicide and took his own life. Really
Sorry.
struggled with drug addiction. Everyone loved him, but when he was on the dark side of the drugs and alcohol, it was really
Mhm.
painful.
Right.
So early on, like I had an amazing grandfather who worked worked 100 hours a week being a carpenter in New York City. And then my mom was like, okay, I'm not going to be a stay-at-home mom. I got to figure this out. And so she went to school, became a nurse, and I spent a lot of time raising myself through that time because she needed to do her
Mm,
thing and I needed to grow up. But
right.
what I realized too, as like I watched her go to the hospital and I got my first job at the hospital, just doing whatever it takes, working in the wards,
Right.
taking patients around to watch the suffering that everyone, all of us go through that, right? My father went through it
Right.
in an interesting way. When I worked in the
Mhm.
hospital, watching my mom take care of people, I realized everyone is in pain and deserves and needs the best help possible. And that was instilled in me very young age, especially growing up in New York, such a diverse community, poor area of Brooklyn. I knew kids from all over the world, and everyone did not have access to good, high quality healthcare. And
Right.
watching people go through that really early on, I mean, maybe through high school and college, it started to develop. But when I came through college, I realized like I want to help people get the access to the best healthcare possible. And my whole career has
Mhm.
kind of been based on that.
Oh, this is amazing. I'm glad that you turned that into something very positive. So this is the whole experience with your dad, you know, uh, and also with your mom. You know, thank you so much for sharing that. So what are the biggest lessons that you have learned about the the resilience?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is big time.
Yeah, for sure. I think for me, when I had my son 7 years
Hmm.
ago, a
Right.
lot of things changed because I think I kind of tried to act like, oh, my mom and I are resilient, we're tough. I didn't need a dad.
Hmm.
I didn't need this.
Hmm.
I had my grandfather. I'm okay.
Hmm.
But when
Hmm.
my son was born and I started to really spend time with him, I realized like how important a dad really is and
Hmm.
how much like I wish I had my father, and then
Hmm.
how can I give that back to my son? So
Right.
while resilience was important and we had it, trust me, my mom and I were very resilient. We also didn't really talk too much about it. We kind
Hmm.
of got in the grind and I realized like that's not always the best thing. Like I did need a dad. I didn't
Hmm.
have one, that's okay, but I can give that back to my own son and now
Right.
my daughter who was just recently born.
Hmm.
But I want to, having those experiences with him, it gets me emotional. Like, doing the simple things with him, being there for him after work, shutting my computer off, listening, just going out and work in the yard. It doesn't need to do anything fancy, but just those conversations are really touching. And like 2 weeks ago, I think
Hmm.
my wife brought up, oh, my Andrew's dad passed away when he was young. My son came over and gave me a hug, and he's like, "I'm really sorry you didn't have a dad. I love you
Hmm.
so much." And I was like getting teary eyed.
Oh,
But
of
in
course.
truth, like having kids. to
Hmm.
realize what I really didn't have and what it feels like to be a dad. And hopefully my son grows up and like my dad always had my back through
Right.
everything from the simplest things. That's really when there was like a turning point in my heart. It softened my heart a lot at that moment when I was like, oh man, like the dad and mom are the most important things you can have in your family, you know?
Absolutely, man. Thanks so much for sharing this, and and I'm glad that you have this opportunity to make it end with you, because you're not able to you're not like replicating what had happened. And because some people, they don't have the chance. Some people, they
Oh,
say,
for
if it's a
sure.
drug addiction, they carry forward, and it's the same situation again.
Yeah, no, I mean that kind of, intrusive thoughts of haunting you when you're growing up, like, am I going to become my father? Could I be addicted
Hmm.
to drugs? And like, that's a weird thing to go through, especially like when you're younger in high school and college, thinking about these things. When you get older and have a kid, you're like, oh, this guy relies on me. These two babies rely on me
Hmm.
forever, right?
Yeah.
It changes something inside of you, but it's also an important
Right.
part of my work too for the Vituity Cares Foundation, our clinics. Like I took my son to our clinic in Sacramento about 2 months ago, and we served in downtown a lot of transient homeless people, and seeing him see people in pain that need something, anything, a haircut, some food,
Right.
medicine. It was awesome. And he was like, I could see he was emotionally touched by that. But really, the message I tried to give him was like, look, everyone deserves health care. There's a lot of people suffering in the United States and the entire world. And we got to figure out
Hmm.
ways to give back and just lend a hand. Like, and he was handing out like collars for dogs and like food. And it was a really special
Nice.
moment for him and I to do that together because I can remember
Amazing.
when I was his age, I didn't have the opportunity or even understand those types of things.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. I think this is amazing. He's learning a lot from that. And what about the challenges you're seeing right now with our current healthcare, and what your company is going to do to address those challenges?
Yeah, I have kind of multiple roles in my life. One is about helping run a very large healthcare company to make sure we provide the highest quality all throughout the United States. There's another part of my job where we invest in really early stage technology companies to hopefully just completely disrupt the way healthcare is delivered and lower its costs. But really, with the foundation at the core, what we needed was a way to give back in our communities. And because we're so healthcare oriented, we all live in these cities.
Mhm.
The Vituity Cares Foundation, like having pop up clinics, offering grants and scholarships to kids that want to become physicians or nurses or PAs or MPs, giving scholarships, giving some help. Like a few of our docs have helped kids get into medical school or
Mhm.
explain how they need to train for the SATs or help them with OCAN, but just give them a lending hand. Like, I'm so grateful. I had so many hands to help carry me there, but not everyone does. And so what's so important, I think, in everything I do is like, how can we make sure we reach out to those people in need, even if we don't totally understand what the need is in the beginning, and just get them where they need to be. The
Right.
foundation was the vehicle for Vituity, the parent company, to really do that. All these doctors, nurses, practice admins, assistants, everyone just started volunteering immediately. And some of the foundation clinics are really focused on kids. Some of it's homeless, some of it's drug addiction, whatever the community needs. Because healthcare is different in every city in this country, and we need to lend our
Right.
hand out.
Amazing. Amazing. I like that alignment. Like the whole company, everybody, they, like they all share the same goal. This is beautiful. This is
Yeah,
beautiful.
even because it was such a large company, Moo Tomlinson, our CEO, like he really was like, we need to start a foundation, but everyone wasn't comfortable with that, right? It's a very large, successful company. Oh, what does that mean? How are we going to do it? It's not possible. And Moo was like, no, I know everyone in the company wants to do this. We got to do it. And so him and I and several other amazing folks got together and we made it happen. But it started really small, very painful to get it done right. It was less
Hmm.
flying all over trying to help out. Many people just saying like, I'm going to give my blood, sweat, and tears for this. And now
Right.
there's 20 clinics across the country in different cities. But it didn't start like that. Everything is hard.
Right.
It's a grind. You got to do whatever it takes, like to get these things off the ground. Even a foundation inside of a big company. If you're starting your own
Right.
business, if you're trying to change the world, you got to grind. My whole life has been trying to figure out how to perfect the grind to really make things happen.
Oh man, absolutely. I was with Franciscan Health. I've seen the foundation folks, how they, this is, I think most of the foundations that we know so far, besides yours, that is, fairly recently, we know them because they have this old age,
Yeah.
like they've been there for years. So this is good that you're, like you get this thing done and you have this success so far. We wish you more success, my friend, on that.
Thank you.
Want real results that last? Stop wasting time on quick fixes. A no-fat approach to sustainable fitness, radiant health, and mental well-being is your roadmap to lasting transformation. Learn how to fuel your body, move with joy, and cultivate mental strength, all without the restrictive rules. Start your journey to sustainable success. Download your guide today.
Yes, sir. So what about the technology? Can you share a little bit about the technology?
Yeah. So I'm the president of Inflect. I love this part of my job. This is kind of like, I think I really love building new things. And usually when they're semi-impossible or impossible to succeed, and though the failure rate is high, when there's a physician or a nurse or a technologist that comes to us and says, I have this idea, but I have no clue how to make it actually work in the United States healthcare system or in a hospital in my area, what we do is try to invest in them, give them a little bit of seed money, give them access to physicians, technologists, other venture funds, and help them try to make that dream a reality. And I love this kind of 0 to 1 concept of like, we barely have an idea. There's like 1 employee, and I want to help you get to 3 or 4 customers, help get an original version of the product out, and something that's going to change the world. The things we look for are reducing costs in healthcare, improving access, reaching people in new ways. And then obviously with the AI and machine learning, like boom, we're going through, how can we help doctors and other clinicians not replace them? That's a crazy thought. You cannot replace human beings. You cannot replace human kindness. But all of our doctors are completely overwhelmed with the amount of work they have to do. They're behind on their schedules. They can't keep up. And so how does the clinician spend the absolute most amount of time with human beings and let the computers do all the extra work, all the documentation, billing, schedule, all the stuff you don't want to do as a provider? We really want to make sure that we can leave an impact on the world like that.
Okay. Wow. And so far, what is the most promising innovation in the recent years?
Okay, I think a couple of my favorites are, real quickly, a company that we built where there were no navigators in emergency departments in Chicago. And there was a lot of medical assisted treatment needs, no follow-up, high rates of overdosing, drug addiction. We built an entire sort of emergency medicine navigator solution that's in person and technology to make sure most people don't see a case manager or social worker when they leave. The very sick do, but most don't, as you know. And so trying to connect with all the normal people, like all of us, to say, like, did you actually get what you needed? Did you go to that clinic and follow up? Are you feeling like you're falling back into addiction? They would call, they automated the phone calls, automated the text messages, and they had incredible outcomes. So we tried to expand that, and now that's taken its own world, and the company's called Rely Health. Absolutely phenomenal. But it's about just helping navigate this complex system to everyone and automating as much as you can so doctors have less worries when someone walks out the front door. Another really cool one is in the Gen AI space. We have focused on creating a tool that's really focused on clinical documentation, not just ambient listening and document or like note summary, but we built a tool called Savant that actually does the medical decision making assistance and the differential diagnoses. So I think one of the problems with Gen AI tools right now are they're not trained by physicians. And so it gives you a ton more data. And then the doctor's like, okay, well, I still need to ask the 5 questions I was going to ask the first time. Right. And so because it's not trained that here are the 5 questions I have, there's a real loss. Like it's very cool and it sounds great, but then the doctor gets it and has to go back and ask those same questions again. So what we've
Mm,
tried to do for emergency medicine is train it with the doctors, saying, here are the 10 things I'm going to ask every time. Here are the 10 things I'm going to do. Here's how I'm going to go through my process. And we built it around that. And it has saved like 3 hours of documentation time on average per day for physicians. So now the doc can see more patients or go home and spend time with their family and kids, right?
right.
And just really try to remove the administrative burden from our clinicians. And I think that AI is really going to disrupt that part of the world.
Oh, this is just to sidetrack. I think even prior, when you're talking about how all these different discharges, you ask them all these questions, and like in doing the follow up, because a lot of times most of the case management we follow up on the long stays because we know it's going to
Yes.
be a
Yep.
problem down the road.
Yep.
So maybe some
Comorbidity.
other markets they approach you with this company, how they can adapt that method, maybe sell it to other companies or something.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have to see, you're exactly right. Like case management picks up maybe 15% of the patients. They're sick, they
Mm,
need follow-up, they have a
mm,
home health nurse, DME, everything, right? The key
right.
part is all those people walk out the front door and don't ever get follow-up. So our whole mission is to follow up with all of them and make sure they get what they need. That we even had in one of our sites moms that were using the ER as an OBGYN because they didn't have health insurance, they didn't know where to go. But there was a clinic in
Right.
South Chicago that would see those moms for free, right, with Medicaid. We just had to direct them there. So the navigators
Hmm.
followed up with them, got to know them, and got them to those
Nice.
clinics. Boom, much better place, much better care.
Amazing.
The key
Amazing.
thing, though, is that hospitals invest so much money into the acute case management that we want them and payers too. We want them to see there's another light of like the rest of the patients in the world that really need something, but they're not actively dying. We need to figure
Hmm.
out how to get solutions to them.
Absolutely. And also I think in the long run, I think they end up coming, those are like those readmissions sometimes, like if I know
Oh yeah.
not it's not as much, but there's a percentage of it, that we can
Oh,
see that.
ER revisits in some sites are unbelievably high. We had the one site in Illinois that was like 35% was revisits because it was in a lower income area and everyone didn't know what was available to them. And so they were able to reduce that by, I think, 17 or 18% to say, like, oh, don't worry, go, 2 blocks here. You're going to get better care. It's going to be exactly what you need. And then there's no, revisit admission cycle, this whole thing. I think there is
Amazing.
so much in that world we haven't touched that we need to pursue this.
Amazing. Amazing. So boss, being in the large healthcare, I know you mentioned about how you're working as an innovation go-to person. Is there any other challenges that you see, or like strategies that you're implementing being a big company like that?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think the the interesting thing recently was I think our biggest challenge is finding enough clinicians to take care of all the patients we have.
Hmm.
Burnout, too many, most of the ER docs and hospitalists are working 200 hours a month. They have families. It's like
Hmm.
impossible to manage this. So I would say the number one issue we suffer as a very large healthcare provider organization is there are not enough doctors, advanced providers, nurses to take care of everyone. And then to get these clinicians any balance in their life is
Hmm.
extremely difficult. And they all have families waiting for them, right? So that's our biggest challenge. I do think, though, there recently I've seen a much larger wave of physicians really wanting to diversify how they practice into preventative medicine. They want to keep patients healthier at home. And I think that was a lot about COVID. Like we all had to figure out how to take care of people at home. And after that, I think a lot of docs came out and said, oh, there is a world where I could help you stay healthier at home. And that is actually more meaningful to me than I'm always saving you from an acute healthcare episode. And so I think there is a world where technology and diversification of more preventative medicine could actually make our providers' lives better. But we have to speed up a lot so that doctor isn't working 200 hours a month, maybe 120 hours a month, and then has an
Hmm.
ability to do some preventative medicine, has technology tools to support them. So I think that's the biggest challenge is like I can come up with these really cool ideas, And the
Well,
doctor's like, "Oh, that's so neat, but I'm on the next 15 days, right?
right,
And so
right.
like,
Mm-hmm.
when am I going to find the time to do this?"
Mm-hmm.
Slowly incrementing like change that way, I think will have the most impact. But it's absolutely, and my heart goes out to them. Like, we have a great preventative medicine health and wellness clinic we've built. We're going to build one in Indiana. I go there, but every single doc is working 200 hours, and they're like, "I just got to race home and see my kids." And I'm like, "Yeah,
Right,
no,
right.
I know." And it really kind of weighed on me because I was like, "Man, we have to create new ways to free up time for our healthcare providers, or the whole country is going to be burned out." And I think that's the greatest balance
Right.
right now that we have to figure out.
So my friend, you being a dad now and you have so much in your hand, what advice you have for other dads that they're trying to balance their family life and demanding careers,
Yeah,
especially in the
yeah.
healthcare as well?
And I'm learning every day too. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm by no means an expert. At
Mm-hmm.
least my style is I try to work as hard as I can when
Mm-hmm.
I'm away from the family, or I work from home, 3/4 of the time. I travel a lot, so traveling's hard no matter what. But when
Mm-hmm.
I'm home, I work a lot, right? But when I'm working, I try to be working. When I'm done working, my trick is when everyone's awake, I spend as much time with them as I can, and I don't work. I try to get off my phone. I'm not perfect at it, but I try to keep this time when I am done
Mm-hmm.
really dedicated to them. And then if I'm really behind when they fall asleep, I'll work some more. But I don't want to do this to my son, my daughter, and my wife. It was incredible. She's waiting to talk because she's been taking care of kids and managing life. And she's like, "Tell me everything about your
Mm-hmm.
day." I can't come out of that upset or
Mm-hmm.
quiet or depressed. Like, I have to be a strong dad and spend time with the
Right.
family, see what my wife needs. And for me, it's like, all right, let's get outside with the kids. Like, let's get her a break, but get off your phone. Don't email. And if you need to, again,
Mm-hmm.
wait till they go to bed. And that's kind of my trick. But it's
Mm-hmm.
made the evenings really powerful, or the morning. Like, I try to get my son ready for school every day, and I try to take him if it works. It doesn't work for everyone, but as
Mm-hmm.
soon as I'm done, like, it's wall to wall meetings, right, until 6 p.m. And then it's like, all right, I got to get off this, and now I got to focus.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think it's just creating whatever works for your schedule, because so many people are working 12-hour shifts, 14-hour shifts, and I know that's brutal.
Mm-hmm.
But at least when you're getting home, just try to give it everything you can until everyone falls asleep, and then start it over again.
Absolutely. Thank you. Actually, for us, actually, for me, it's been doing two things at the same time. Because when you're trying to spend as much time until they, like until the shutdown, guess what? They shut me down too in the process.
Right? Yeah.
So I have to be careful. I have to,
Yes, no, for sure,
So I
for
know that,
sure.
I know the. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
So
and the
how do you stay
weekends are so
motivated and
treasured, right?
inspired?
Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yes. Weekends are, a lot of times, unfortunately, I work most of my, like all my weekends. So always they say, Dad, this is it. So I try to sacrifice as much as I can the time that I have with them to do things, but it's never enough, my friend.
Never. No, I mean, it's crazy. And then time flies, right? I have a 7-year-old who thinks he's 20, and
Hmm.
now a newborn. And all you want to do is slow everything down, right? Um,
Right.
but- and then traveling,
Yes.
I travel a lot. That's a whole other
Hmm.
challenge, right? So my strategy there, just my personal strategy, is I try to keep my trips as short and as high impact as possible. So I try not to be away from the house for more than 2 days. Sometimes it has to happen,
Hmm.
but I try to keep it there. But I'll take a red eye, I'll take a 4 a.m. flight, I'll take the midnight flight
Right.
home. I can sleep in the
Right.
airplane, but I gotta be with the family as much as I can. And it's tough, but I think it's totally possible. And I can sleep anywhere, so it's okay.
That's
But
right.
just
That's
try
right.
to keep those trips shorter. I try to FaceTime the family at night and in the morning, and as much as I can. And, because now my wife's home alone with the kids and all the responsibilities that she has. So yeah, just try
Right.
to minimize as much as I can.
Amazing. Amazing. Do you have any help? A lot of times, some families, I see some families that have their in-laws and, or their
Yeah.
parents or some people, and it's amazing
We
for them,
don't, yeah, so we have I have a huge family. My wife has 12 brothers and sisters, and I had zero. So it's like total, and they
Mm-hmm.
immigrated from Mexico and were pickers in the
Mm-hmm.
field. So they have this incredible background story. And now, so I have tons
Mm-hmm.
of brothers and sisters, which was my ultimate dream. So I love to see my kids grow
Right.
up in that because my family was very
Amazing.
small, they
Mm-hmm.
don't all live here, so most of our family lives in Arizona, but they're incredible. They come
Mm-hmm.
out all the time. We go to Arizona all the time. So, like on the broader spectrum, yes, we're always with family. On the day to day, not so much. My wife's a machine. She figures out everything, and I try to be as at present as a father as I can be. But
Right.
like as the new baby was born, we've had family here the whole time, and like that's so amazing, right? Having
Yes,
family anywhere
sir.
near you is like such a blessing. And I'm willing to, we'll go to Arizona, 20 times a year if we need to, just to get my son loves it. Like, and I want my kids to grow up with like family's number one. We got to figure this out.
Tired of fads and frustration? Build sustainable wellness for life. Forget quick fixes that fail to deliver lasting results. Imagine feeling energized, moving confidently, and radiating health for years. Achieving true wellness isn't about exhaustion or deprivation. It's about building habits that fit seamlessly into your life. Invest in yourself today for lasting fitness, radiant health, and mental well-being. Ready to transform your life? Click here to learn more. By purchasing the book, you'll gain lifetime access to updates, newsletters, future editions, and exclusive wellness bonuses from the author. Start your journey to wellness now.
Fantastic. My friend, this is amazing. So do you have any special, specific examples with your company that, how you make those differences in the lives? I know I saw some pictures how recently you have those events in the community and such. Do you have any like examples like that?
Yeah, and we would
More
love if
examples
if
like that, yeah.
anyone's listening wants to get involved too. But
Mm-hmm.
like in the Vituity
Oh,
Cares
amazing.
Foundation pop-up clinics are in 25 cities, right? And what we learned was people need haircuts, people need food, people need backpacks, people need medicine, people need many, many things. So if you're not a doctor or a nurse, no big deal. I go, my son goes, we try to invite as many friends and family as we can get there. There's so many diverse
Mm-hmm.
needs. Like a lot of transient folks have animals, pets, pet food, dog
Mm-hmm.
collars, just talking to people and spending time with them. So if you're interested in volunteering with us, that would be amazing. We would
Mm-hmm.
love that. I can give you more information. Reach out to me. But also, I think if you're building a company, you got to build it for every single
Mm-hmm.
human being in this country. That's number one. It can't be for a certain area or demographic. Everyone deserves this solution that you're building. But also, you need help. You
Mm-hmm.
can't do all this stuff on your own. You need to ask for help and
Oh.
advice and talk to as many people as you can. You can't carry that whole weight on your own. I've never seen anyone be able to do that. Anytime I make an investment or build something, I end up calling 100 friends. Now I'm gonna start calling you, by the way. Like, hey, is this make sense? Is
Oh,
this the
please,
right idea?
please.
Am I off,
Yeah.
right? And when you get
Mm-hmm.
all their feedback,
Right.
your idea gets better and you get stronger, and then you have encouragement and people to speak to. And so I feel like that's how you're going to be successful and make an impact in healthcare if you're starting a new company.
Oh, amazing. So I see. So I guess this will be the steps, like you mentioned, that folks should do to have a better future healthcare. Do you have any other ideas? I know there's so much right now. People they complain about things being expensive. Of course,
Oh
with the
man,
DAX, we
yeah.
have this burnout. I know the numbers is going down a little bit because people they're more aware now.
Yep.
What are the hopes you have for the future, my friend,
Yeah, I think
with
I
the
think
healthcare?
there's not to be scared of technology. I think there's kind of two
Mm-hmm.
schools of thought. One of them is like, oh, techno, and my mom and like grandparents and never, it's like they're like, oh, they're gonna replace all humans and it's gonna be create
Mm-hmm.
robots and I think that's the wrong mentality. Or like jobs are gonna be replaced and no one's gonna have work. I don't actually believe that. I think the
Mm-hmm.
work is changing though, and the world is changing quicker than it ever has because technology is evolving at a speed that it never hit, right? The velocity is so incredible now. But what my encouragement for people is instead of being scared of it or shun away from it, is learn more about it. And I'll use an example. We have an amazing billing company. They bill for 1.8 billion a year of revenue. And we have, probably 1,100 billers and coders. And you could be scared of like, are my jobs going to be replaced by all the, automation coming out? But instead, this group of folks learns how to do the automation, right? And learns how to train the computers. And then our billing gets so much better. And now they can scale and do that elsewhere. And now they have this whole new skill set. I feel like don't be scared of the tech, learn about it, embrace it, bring it back to your own career, your own job, learn how to use it, and you actually become more valuable and stronger. And hopefully it makes you more impactful. So I think that's one area where, I have some docs say to me, well, I'm going to be replaced by a robot. It's like, no way. That is not, my grandmother's not talking to a robot about dying. You know what I mean? Like that's not happening. So
Right.
we need to embrace it, learn it, and get ahead of it.
Amazing. Andrew, it's been an incredibly inspiring talk,
Thank you.
and your company is doing, is making a difference. And thank you for sharing all the work that you're doing. And I hope folks, they will definitely contact you to see how they can participate and work with you to,
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for doing
Thank
this.
you
my
for
friend.
creating Dadpuzzles and everything you do and for caring for patients, like everything. You're awesome, and I appreciate you having me and can't wait to come back.
My friend, how can folks find you? You're
Yeah,
you're on
LinkedIn,
LinkedIn and all that.
my name is so generic, Andrew Joseph Smith, so looking me up is kind of hard, but you can email
Right.
me at andrew.smith@vituity.com, LinkedIn, I'm always available, so I appreciate you.
Amazing. Thanks so much, folks. Please go ahead and follow my friend Andrew. And thank you again for tuning in. Stay puzzling. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, my friend. That was